Oh, come on.
He didn't presume that it got licked.
Perfect.
Nothing got licked.
Nothing got licked.
That's so weird.
Was it USD 07204?
No, I just started it again with my account, which is the same, and it worked fine.
Okay. Take the win.
It's also
Hey Kyle, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good. You got my number behind you.
Nice.
Maybe it's not mine. I don't know.
They're like 90% Isabel's. Like Reagan has there. I've got a couple up there, and Izzy's got all the rest.
There you go.
Yo, hey guys, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, Casey, got you.
Awesome. I am recording today too, which is phenomenal. I found my MacBook Pro that was in the guest bedroom, weirdly enough. I'm not sure why, but
Literally, the first thing I checked when I logged into the meeting was whether it was recording or not.
yeah, like, I try real hard. But what was it? I saw something somewhere recently that was like you can't be good at everything, so be good at what you do, or something like that. I'm like, oof. I feel
How
like
about the remembering what you saw part? Be good at that.
the remember what?
Remember what you saw part?
Yeah.
Never mind. Keep going. Like I'm not here.
Okay. I'm so confused.
Me too.
Yeah, I think when we open this up to all the coaches, I'm going to start using Google Meet instead of Zoom. So I'll replace the links everywhere, but that is what NICA provides us. So might as well try to use it. So John Mayer wised up today and joined the Move Up Zwift ride. And she basically, like, they do like a rubber band ride, and she has to get 15 miles a day, and she got it in like 36 minutes because Connor Rimbolt was like just pulling the entire group. And she's like, well, got my 15 miles in for the day, I'm done, Dad.
Like, that's cheating.
Yeah,
Cheating.
I'm like, She's gonna get over 300 anyway, so I think it'll be fine.
Yeah.
You doing the January mileage challenge?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, she's got 180 right now, and she's banging out about 15 a day. So, but today really didn't count.
They was just for fun.
Mm-hmm. She earned it. She understands the power of a draft now, if anything else. Like that's the
It's a valuable lesson to learn early on.
mm-hmm. Accurate. Richard, how's it going, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right, man. Uh, I see we already had another reply to our email conversation earlier today, so that's good.
Yeah, Dallas jumped right on that. That was great. I was just a little concerned for
I
her since.
Nope, I 100% get it. I would, you know, yeah. You can control what you can control, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How's the transition going? Otherwise, is it smooth for you guys and Dallas and Tina and all the? I mean, everybody kind of shifted roles around. So
Yeah, we're a pretty tight-knit group for the most part when everybody's in the country. But Tina has been out of the country for the last like 2.5 weeks. And then before that, the NICA national president, whom has some transition duties as well. She was in France for like most of December. And so it's been like hang up after hang up in that situation. And their finance person was out too. And yeah, I'm looking forward to just getting everything like not necessarily moved over or anything, but just like cross-trained and get everybody comfortable in their roles, because that's really, really important for me to get people moving in the right direction. So
cool. Yeah. Well, thanks for getting back to us, and thanks to Dallas for. I was going to hit reply and let him know. Thanks for getting that cleared up for that writer. So.
Yep. But yeah, we're actually this will be the first coaches call where we're talking actual coaching stuff. I'm very excited. So I hope other people join. If not, you guys are going to get to hear this again when we open it up for all the coaches, because I think it's probably one of the most impactful things that I've seen in the whole NICA system. And it's not even from NICA. So it's good stuff. But I'm one of those, yeah, I'm not necessarily always performance driven as a coach. Like I see the growth, like the growth aspect of what we do, just as if not more important than the actual banging out miles, going fast, yada yada. You know, you find opportunities for kids to really connect with the sport and get them empowered and having fun, as opposed to just hill repeats, which are also necessary. Just like don't can't discount it entirely, but
These first few that were for team directors, I actually accidentally posted them to our coaches' scheduled period. So we may have other coaches that aren't HC or TV coaches joining. I know Rayanne can't make it, but we might have another couple of coaches. It's hard to say because we're using Heya, so I can post events to just coaches. So I went ahead and scheduled these for them, thinking that they'd be for everybody from the get-go. So
yeah, and it's not like we have a super exclusive, like these secrets are only for team directors. And we'll teach everybody the handshake, so that'll be good. We'll get that out of the way. But But yeah, no, it'll be good. I just, for my sanity, to get the season started too, it's best to limit the audience. And hopefully you guys are out there banging out some recruiting. Topeka had an event yesterday. I was there. I was there for most of it last night. Ethan, how's it going, man?
Things are going well.
Yeah.
Well, we have our second practice planned for this Sunday, weather
Ooh.
permitting. But
Yeah.
so yeah, we've had some good growth, and I've got a couple more coaches, potential coaches that are coming. So that's exciting.
Awesome. It looks like you and Kyle switch places because Kyle's usually in the basement. Like I usually see the rafters from Kyle's basement and like just a generic background. Oh, there they are. Okay. He moved.
That better case.
I'm on the other side of his basement, actually.
Okay, yeah. That's fair. That's quite a drive for you, but I appreciate the commitment.
Yeah, commitment. Yeah. My Wi-Fi was down, and I was like, Kyle, I got, gotta have Wi-Fi.
Hey, Doug.
Hey, folks.
How you doing,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Okay.
can hear you, bud.
Okay, good. Well, I don't know if that's good, but at least I know.
Awesome. So we'll wait a couple more minutes to get started here. Just get a general consensus. So I guess Southwind, have you guys already started practice, right? Are your trails dry enough, or are you guys just doing skills-based stuff?
First one was just skills. Second one is Sunday, like Ethan's, and it's just going to be skills. There's a park kind of in central Wichita. We got kids from Newton, kids from Ark City, kids from West Wichita, kids from East Wichita, a coach from El Dorado. So we picked a kind of central location that was a city park, and it's got enough grass to do games and some inclines for some shifting and things like that. So we're not doing any trail stuff. Trails, Santa Fe Lake, you guys know the trouble you had with that. So I had that in the wintertime. So it was good. Like on Monday, I wrote it on Monday, but by Sunday, you never know. So we haven't done any trail riding.
Yeah, just from a cadence perspective, usually the first 2 to 3 weeks of shred practice historically have been at a park. One good thing that you can incorporate into those practices is find yourself a big old zoysia field and have the kids ride through that. That grass this time of year is super hard to ride through and adds a training element that they don't even realize is happening. They're just like, oh, riding in grass sucks. And you should be like, yeah, it does. But also, this is like the worst grass to ride through.
Yeah, we've got several younger kids that are brand new. And so just before we even get them on the trail, I think we went to the trails a little too soon last year because we had so few practices actually scheduled before the first race. And so we're just taking it slow.
Yeah, that's really what you got to do. And that to me, with those OTB 101 skills too, you can challenge by choice with some modifiers in those skills to keep the older kids interested. And then also something that's useful is you can, if a student athlete has a skill, can demonstrate the skill, flip the script a little bit and have them teach the skill too. We've got a couple of kids that are just their line selection is better than mine because this one kid has ridden motocross for a long time in Topeka, and he sees lines like no other kid on our team. And so we have him coach lines. And it's awesome because he's a 8th grader now, teaching high school kids the right line to ride. Okay, so no slide deck today. I do have a PDF that I'm going to share with you guys. I'm also going to blast it out to everybody here. Just a housekeeping thing. Let me screenshot here. Get everybody, that way I know who to email this thing to. Boom. I am recording, which is like a first for 2023. So new year, new me. I'm remembering things. Maybe better, doubt it. But ultimately, today's call is going to be around what's called the good sports spine. Nike National has a few coaches calls throughout the year too that are geared towards coaching coordinator, coaching director, whatever it is. My role right now, and they usually provide some sort of handout or good content or good conversation around the many different facets of coaching, whether it be, the challenge by choice stuff, or whether it be like your team's charter, what it looks like, what team culture is, how to build team culture, that sort of stuff. And today there was actually something that came out of Sport New Zealand that was brought into the NICA system. Mike McGarry stole it from somebody that he had met at a conference, at a coaching conference. And I think it's incredibly valuable. I think it's good to set the tone early on as your guys' teams sort of going through those coaches meetings that some of us have already attended or had. I think this is excellent reading material and excellent stuff to go over from the coaching perspective to kind of help set the trajectory of the team. That way you're not too far, we'll call it too far left or right of the good sports spine, which is kind of what this thing is called. So we're going to we'll go through the good sports spine today, and then after that we'll have some more discussion, a couple of updates from just like the league level to let you guys know kind of what's going on at the league level, and then probably call it a night after that. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. I wonder if I can just share this. All right. Can everybody see my screen? Cool. Okay.
Yes.
So this is sort of this can get into sort of the touchy-feely stuff in terms of being a coach, right? We're there to hopefully grow good humans, and we choose to grow good humans on a bicycle. And the good sports spine is this tool to help adults understand how to make positive impacts on children. So there's two different climates as seen as opposite sides of the spectrum. You have the performance side and the development side. And each one of these attitudes and behaviors is kind of linked to the needs of a child. Okay, so you have our coaching staff, for example, and I'm sorry I always use Shred as an example, but it's the one that I know. But we have both performance coaches and then development coaches as well. So we have folks that, we have Catherine Wahlberg. She's been a pro mountain biker for years, and pro cyclocross racer for years. We have her, and then we have like myself, Laura Hodgson, who are more conditioning coaches that don't necessarily, you know, we haven't ever been pros at anything, but we're really good at developing athletes, and that's kind of that's the slant that we take. And then you have folks like Neb, who has an interesting sporting history. Neb, do you want to give like just a quick, I'm sorry to put you on the spot here, man, but do you want to give a quick overview of kind of your sports history? Because I think it's fascinating.
Forward. I was a pretty serious rower. I started rowing when I was 4th grade. By the time I was 8th grade, we were doing 2 practices a week. By the time I was 17, we had 1 Monday off per month. During the winters and summers, we'd go like row when practices a day. I never had the height. I'm 6'2". Really, to be successful, you have to be like 6'6", 6'8". Also, my lung capacity and my heart were not quite up to snuff to make the Olympics, but I used to row with guys that made the Olympics. So I made the national team. It was pretty serious. And then I came to America, and then I rowed at K-State for a year, where we actually won every race the whole year, and we won nationals. And demotivated because I went from practicing a lot to just practicing 4 or 5 times a week. It was a club sport at K-State. It wasn't very serious at all. And then I retired from it. So
I have never seen Neb row a boat in my life, but I'm sure it's a sight to be seen. And it really, like, so there's a large part of me that automatically pegs Neb as the climate of performance, because of sort of that background, which is totally like my perception. But also he does a great job with development and connection and empowerment too. So you know, you don't necessarily have to be one side of the spectrum or the other. Like, and that's kind of the goal of this document, is to just kind of call that out, and we can start kind of discussing discussing correction patterns that you can take if you see your team or your team culture going too far towards the climate of performance, or you know, or you want to pull it from the climate of development into more of the climate of performance. You know, that's up to you guys as team directors. So so from the climate of development, you know, we do have like inspiration. You know, what is a growth mindset, process focus, and then of course coping skills. So those are the needs of the kids, and then we have different ways from a development perspective to address those and meet those needs. So we can focus on getting better, like that incremental growth that we have. Understand that mistakes are necessary for growth, and then recognizing effort and trying. So making sure that you're not just praising the fastest kid up the hill, but you're praising everyone who made an effort to get up the hill. And I think in competitive sports, you know, it's really easy to say, yeah, you were the fastest, yeah, you hit the highest spot on the podium. But after a race, I generally look at average mile per hour, average ride time, those sort of statistics, to see that incremental growth with student athletes, and then really call them out as making improvements there, as opposed to you know, just focusing on like the results side of the house. So I guess Doug, from your guys's, like from your team perspective, do you guys like talk about the results? Do you talk about focus on continuous improvement? Kind of what's your guys' philosophy that you have?
Yeah, we really I mean, we're all about development. Like we just really don't have like anybody really focusing on performance and podium type. I mean a few, but yeah, just as I'm kind of reading through here, I mean, even just reading this stuff on the performance side, it doesn't fit well with our team much. And honestly, I'm a bit confused by some of the language on the left there. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're very much developmental type, having fun type of a team, and certainly have a few kids that are shooting for performance, of course, and we do what we can. But yeah, I don't know. We have any magic secrets, I guess, but
yeah, no, you guys do such a good job with your culture too, and I think it's more, it's a testament to the community effort and the community vibe that you guys have too. That is, you know, the continuous improvement and the growth mindset stuff. I think is awesome. And
so
that I
yeah, to that point, like we started practice last week, and I don't know if this is a time to talk about it, but like, so we're kind of starting with kind of what our code of conduct is, or our team charter. It seems like one of you teams had done that last year too, and maybe we could have a discussion about what other teams are doing in that regard, as far as kind of bringing everybody in or creating expectations. And I don't know if tonight's the night, but
yeah,
anyway, that's something I'd like to touch on with the other teams sometime in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's some documentation out there on the coaches' resources on creating a team charter too. We created a team charter last year, and that's probably who you're thinking of.
Yeah, perhaps.
I'll go through. I can go through that at a later call. It won't be anything, or we can get through it tonight too, depending on how far we get. But so really, it's the ensuring that you are inspiring and connecting and empowering, like meeting those needs from the kids. And you know, I think our league is so young, and our kids have not necessarily, you know, they haven't been on their bikes their entire lives, or racing mountain bikes their entire lives. So the climate of performance, I think is something that we really don't focus on as a league, and that's not something that we necessarily culturally have prioritized. But it's the development aspect of it that really kind of sets this league and this sport apart from a lot of the other, you know, the stick and ball sports, or even the club sports, because technically, you know, we're basically a club sport. So it's really focusing on these needs here and making sure that you're using the right tools to reinforce those needs from the student athletes, and you know, the effort and improvement, like the development attitudes and behaviors versus the performance. It doesn't necessarily mean that the performance aspect is you know, bad. I think that there is also a place for that, but I think that it has to be very prescriptively done, especially in a program like this, where we do focus so much on the fun and inclusivity that comes with riding your bike, right? So I think one of the great things about cycling too, and you know, mountain biking is sort of one of many in terms of variety too. So you know, we're out there on the trails, but also we have an opportunity for student athletes to be you know, riding paved sidewalks too during a practice, and getting a different type of training in while you're on the bike. It doesn't necessarily always have to be trails, or always have to be hill repeats, or anything like that. So with that late specialization, and you know, trying out different aspects of cycling or different aspects of the sport, we're able to introduce everybody at pretty much the same level coming in sixth grade because we don't have a lot of kids that are below sixth grade that have really raced mountain bikes. So, I think that our league does a really good job of the sixth graders making sure that we're setting lap counts appropriately, and our staging process that we use for the state too, I think is something that is needed, and also kind of helps set the structure to make sure that the student athletes feel challenged right out of the gate, but also not too overwhelmed because you've got coaches right there able to help. So so we also have some inspiration, connection, empowerment, play, variety. Those are all sort of the needs of children, right? For sports. And so we have the opportunity to focus on like the left or right, the performance or development. So I'd kind of just like to hear from everybody so like, let's go with the play aspect. Are you guys looking to like how often do you guys introduce a game at practice? Like, do you guys run the same game every single practice, or do you guys mix it up? So let's go, Ethan. Do you want to kind of tell us about sort of your game structure that you might have?
Yeah. So I like to spend a lot of time on drills because we only practice once a week. So we're kind of limited on how quickly we can get through these before we actually get to trail. But I try to break it up as much as possible. So if we do 2 to 3 drills a day for a practice, between each drill, we'll do a new game that introduces an element that we've practiced in the drill. So like we did bike body separation last practice, and we played a lot of games with slalom race, or it's not slalom races, but slalom games, our type games, rock dodge, cardboard slide. So we played, I think, 2 or 3 games that day, all related to the skill that we had previously practiced. But yeah, it's always different. They'll never do the same game back-to-back practices. It's always going to be something different.
That's awesome. Do you write down your practice plans or practice logs to try to keep track of that, or do you have a good enough memory?
No, I've got every practice logged out. So my coaches have a practice plan typically by Friday night that goes through everything that we plan on doing. If we get through everything anyway. But yeah, it's all planned out. So I've got all last year's, and I use last year's and the feedback that we got to alter this season's practices. So if games went over well in my notes and kids liked it, then we'll do it again. If games did not go well, could we alter it to do it a different way? Or do we just scrap that game and try to find something else that the kids connect with?
Yep. And you'll know pretty quickly whether a game is engaging and fun or not, because teenagers are mean, and that's something I learned the first year. The best laid plans, but so Ryan, do you guys have like a practice vault, kind of like Ethan's talking about?
I'm not as organized as Ethan. We just play off the weather and what kids show up. So many kids are into other sports. By the time they get to our practice, they're pretty tired. So kind of look at what we're doing, what venue we're up against, and I just kind of go off of experience on what I think the kids could benefit from, that week before the event or 2 before the event. So, like I said, kind of like Ethan said, we found what works, what doesn't work. We feed off the kids as much as they feed off us. So we have talked about putting everything in a playbook. I think Adam started one of those. So we are working towards that, but yeah, it's been very experimental the last 2 seasons for certain. So we're trying to be better this year about organizing everything and kind of documenting stuff and moving forward with what's been working and not working. But
Yeah, that's totally fair. And that's like, I'm a giant nerd, and Mike also is a giant nerd and has an amazing knack for organization skills. And so we had just about everything. Well, we do have all of our practice plans in Google Drive. And kind of like Ethan's comment about having it at a specific date and time before practice. So like having it the Friday night before a practice, kind of that put my other coaches at ease too, because they kind of understood that there was a game plan going into that practice. It doesn't always have to be perfect, but I had the first year, Mike pulled me aside and told me that a little bit of planning can go a very long way sometimes. And I was running around practice with I looked like a chicken with my head cut off. I'm 100% positive, but we just basically faked it until we figured it out. But that little, it was sometimes a 6-line text message to all of my coaches the day before a practice, but it kind of put all of the coaches at ease and kind of set the tone and set the direction for that practice. So if that's not something you do, and you maybe are experiencing some coach engagement issues, or are concerned about your level of engagement with your coaches, kind of setting that clear path kind of really can ease those worried minds around that. So
yeah, one thing I'll add is I learned very quickly the first year, if the coaches that you're working with, and if you're a head coach or you're designing the practice plans, if your coaches don't know what's going on, you quickly realize that you're the only one doing anything at practice. And it's very chaotic. So like you said, more coach engagement. So before the couple days before the practice, every coach knows that they're responsible for a certain aspect of practice, so they can prepare for that mentally, go into it better prepared. And it just leads to less burnout for those who are running practices. So you don't feel like you're actually doing everything.
Yep. And we tried a thing too, where we had specific coaches design practices. So you would have the performance coach design a practice and then run it on a Thursday. But what happened was that particular coach was very, very well versed in mountain biking, but also over explained everything and did not keep the kids moving. And they had like 30 minutes of sit still time at a NICA practice. And like, yeah, Ethan's laughing. Like, that's not a good night. But it's a little humbling, because practice planning is it's not a science. It's really an art form. But that communication piece is sort of the science behind it. So no matter what the content is, if not everybody knows it, then you're gonna have a chaotic practice.
I think that's the main factor with the last 2 years being experimental for most of us. I think is there's probably been a small handful in each team that are trying to run the practice, and then I think there's a lot of others that are also trying to learn from those folks along with the kids. And when we're trying to bring this all together in an hour and a half or whatever time slot once or twice a week, it is very chaotic and stressful. And then we do play off the weather. And so I think by now, many of us who have probably been in those roles are starting to get a little more comfortable with delegating out how things should go, what we need to start seeing at certain parts of the season, for expectations of where we're going to be towards the end of the season. And I think it'll definitely start to help with improvements on getting more coaches involved and whatnot. It's just been, like you said, it's like herding cats. And if you're just like me, I'm just a big goof. I like to ride bikes. That's the main thing. And the kids kind of feed off that. And we don't like to sit still because we learned that early on. Kids don't sit still. So we keep the kids moving and just kind of go with the flow and hope it works out sometimes. And, some nights aren't as good as others, but every night is a good night because we're on bikes, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of interesting what you're referencing to with the burnout and sort of the ownership to trying to delegate tasks. But we all started something cool and we're all proud of that, right? Like that everybody on this call should be proud of what we've done with our organizations. There is a human need for empowerment too, whether it's on the sports spine or you have coaches that want to get engaged and aren't really sure how, or Ryan's been doing this for so long, or Doug's been doing this for so long that we don't know what it would be like for him to not do it, right? So that delegation, which Doug, I mean, you run a well-oiled machine out there in terms of the farm, and so like delegation has to come secondhand to you, or second nature to you, because it seems like you have a lot of people engaged in your system, and really are starting to grow your guys' coaching culture as well. So really kudos to you for that. It seems like that you're bringing on coaches just as quick as student athletes.
Yeah, and thank you. That too actually is a question I'd like to pose to the group if we have time, like how to best utilize all those coaches. I mean, like we've got 13 coaches now that show up. Like we had 13 coaches Sunday standing here in the garage, and I'm like, Jesus, like, which is great. Like it's a good problem to have, but like making sure that everyone feels important, worthy, and they're not just standing there watching John and I do stuff. So like for those other teams that have multiple coaches, I guess I'd like to hear kind of how, I mean, I can imagine kind of how to do that, but just other experiences.
Tell like 3 or 4 of those coaches to move to Leavenworth.
Okay, good.
What I need.
Yeah. I actually got
weeds in a cornfield.
Pardon?
Pull some weeds out in a cornfield.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the comment on that. I've got several other questions if we have time yet tonight, but we can wait till the end there. But
yeah, we'll get through this, Doc.
Okay.
This is the second of 3 pages. Another note that I kind of wanted to hit on too was variety, which we actually already talked about with coach planning too. All of these things, all of these needs that we have, and that whether it's our coaches or whether it's our student athletes have, the coaching plan and the practice plan and the team culture kind of drive answers to those needs, right? And so I would like, not everybody's going to be as organized as Ethan. I'm 100% positive of that, and nor should everybody be. But like, I think that when you guys are writing your practice plans, I think it's incredibly relevant to kind of pop this open and make sure that you're providing that those answers to those key, there's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So this is sort of the emotional hierarchy of needs of our student athletes, and what how we can answer those and how we can best fulfill those for the type of culture that we want to provide for our student athletes. So this last page here is something that I actually made a couple of mind shifts or mindset changes in and over the last probably 3 years, just sort of in my performance as a cyclist and what I'm shooting for and why I'm shooting for it. And it did a really good job of boiling it down to like, what are the benefits and consequences like of your development? Not, I mean, this one says children's development, but really it's your motivation. You know, are you extrinsically motivated or intrinsically motivated? So I kind of I coach a couple of kids as well on keeping their blinders on and not really focusing on those external variable. Well, I'm a software engineer, so to me they're called external variables, and they're basically you know, things you can't necessarily control. But you can control those internal variables and those things, the perception, well, how you feel about something, and your motivations, whether they come internally or externally. Also, addressing well-being and looking for those points of enjoyment in a practice, and not necessarily drilling the same drill every practice for, you know, 20 minutes every practice. Like, no matter how great the skill is, you're going to burn people out. And that's just a fact of coaching. You also have the performance versus development with that, with the growth mindset, and the incremental, you know, incremental wins is kind of, I think the ketogenic diet says something about like small scale victories is what it is, but it's basically small wins that you can make, or small changes that you can make to say, hey, I won, I did something. And that incremental gain that you can have helps kind of build your confidence too, because when you're winning 3 days a week at some of the smaller challenges that you see in front of you, you know, it's a more sustaining plan. So the understanding to, you know, we can all move our pedals forward pretty well. We can all push our pedals pretty well, but there are other skills at work, especially in mountain biking, whether it be upper body strength, whether it be you know, how big your lungs are, or even sort of the mental game too. If you focus on the development aspect of mountain biking and the development aspect of cycling, you really you can tackle each one of those things, as opposed to just focusing specifically on making sure you have big lungs, or making sure that you can push 300 watts, or you know, those, if you hyper focus on one specific facet of cycling, you know, you lose out on the growth that you can have as a human, as opposed to just being really good at pushing pedals. And of course, there's also potential for overuse if you drill skill after skill after skill. But you know, mixing it up, having games in between different skills or different activities helps. It does help reduce the risk, because you know, your student athletes are on or off the bike, or you know, it's a mix up of activities, as opposed to just straight, we're on the bike for 2.5 or 2 hours at a practice. So yeah, I I really, really like this document. I probably didn't do it as much justice as Mike did when he presented it to me, but I'm going to go ahead and send this out to you guys too. And I kind of want you to take it, think about it. If you guys are looking at writing down your practice plans for the first time or revisiting your practice plans from previous years, I think it would be a good exercise for everybody to just kind of run through this and keep that in your mind as you're developing out those practices. So that's my spiel about the good sports spine. I will get that out to you after the meeting today. And that is pretty much, that is all the content that I wanted to cover today from sort of a coaching growth perspective. So kind of want to open it up to Dallas to see if Dallas has anything from the league perspective, and then we can open it up to coaches' questions and just general dialogue.
All right. Thanks, Casey. Awesome stuff. I probably need to look through that some more myself. Probably take it easier on myself. I about knocked the trainer over again tonight. Frustrations. Just real quick, we are starting to approve those scholarships. Make sure you're using the scholarship fund so that we can track those things. As soon as we approve the scholarship, I will send out an email to that parent, letting them know that the scholarship has been approved and that the credit is setting in their box, waiting for them to finish the process. Just sent some of those out tonight. Sorry about the delay on that. Had to get some things squared away and give some blood so that I could get permission to apply the scholarships. So we are starting to apply those scholarships. Always get asked about whether or not we have people in the varsity category or catting up. As of right now, I've not seen anybody petition unless you've done it in the last couple of days. So if you've had racers petition up, I have not seen that yet. So, but I've not checked in the last couple of days, so I can't give you an answer. And then let's see, this group we had talked about at one time, adding names to the nameplates. I trust this group of people that's on here on this screen, and I feel like it's a pretty healthy group to have this conversation with. NICA National has really pushed for that. They think that's really awesome to have individual names on plates. But the race staff, Sarah, Casey, myself, have been all part of a lot of races, and I will tell you, keeping track of names versus numbers is really, really difficult. And if we lose the timing mat and have to manually take down riders' information like we have had to do in the past, we always run. In fact, we always run a manual process in the background, so that if there was ever a problem with the timing mat, we're able to catch where that error is. It's just short of impossible to do when we have 30 kids out there and you end up with a couple of Johns riding. Anybody in this group opposed to us sticking with numbers versus names?
What is the benefit?
And coaches to sign up early so that they get names.
I did. You're right, Neb. I did. But in the interest of making sure you and I don't have an argument in the middle of the season, I think that I should
We're
say
having an argument.
No, I think I should say, Neb, I was wrong for putting that out there that early, and I really strongly suggest we go to numbers, but I am open to the conversation on this. Just from a purely tracking standpoint, I will tell you it's a nightmare to keep track of names versus numbers.
Are you sure that it is not both, primarily a number, but also a tiny name on there?
What I have seen has been just a name. We do have the opportunity to design the nameplate ourselves if that's what we want to try and do, is put a name with a number. We could look into that, John. That's a pretty good idea. That's why I brought it up.
I mean, I had assumed that it would be a large number and just a subtitle name thing, which I think would be appropriate and kind of underclassy. But yeah, I would never support, personally, I would never support just names. I think that's awkward and that'd be terrible to, I mean, because there will be certain numbers that won't have their names in, and we're gonna have late people that won't have a name, and you talk about, that's not including everybody. So
Right.
I would support, yeah, a large number and a subtitle name, but that's.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. It's not what was presented to me from the national side, but it is definitely something I will ask for. So I think as long as it doesn't interfere with reading a number, I think that's okay.
Is there a reason that Nike National is pushing just names? I mean, is there backing for that decision, or?
No, sir. No, no, that's the most polite and political way I can say that. No.
Then I don't care. Stick with numbers and little name, I guess. That's fine with me.
Ethan, I got so frustrated I shaved my beard off. Can you see this? I'm like, I lost my beard. That's how frustrated I got.
Poor beard.
Poor beard. Yeah. So those were the two major things I had. Right now, I will tell you our registration numbers are down. Just a second, Doug, I see you. I ran them just a second ago. I will rerun them again, but we are down as far as number of registered riders. Let me see if I can find it real quick and I'll give you guys the rundown. So currently we are down 46% and we only have 71 registered riders, 21 new male riders, that's down 63%. 6 new female riders, that's down 70%. Number of returning riders is down 21% with 44. So pretty consistent across the board, but I will say this, kudos to all of you. The number of returning coaches is up 21%. Number of returning female coaches is up 30%, and for male coaches is up 18%. So, but we are down new coaches. So we're keeping the ones that we got. We're not bringing on as many as we had in the past. Seems like that's always a question, but we're still pretty early in the season here as far as getting people registered and getting through the process. Real quick, thank you to Casey. He did get the schedule posted up online. The grit schedule is even in there, poked in the middle. We are still planning on having that. That is going to be at Snake Farm. We've got permission to do it out there, and that is the plan. Casey and Sarah are going out to Wilson Lake in a week and a half, 2 weeks. Week and a half, 2 weeks. I don't even know what day it is anymore. We can have 2 weeks, and we also have a meeting with the state of Kansas in Topeka as well. So both those venues look really well. Sarah has done an exceptional job again as your guys' race director in getting you guys like top-notch facilities to have these races at. So kudos to her. Make sure you give her a high five, buy her a German beer. She likes it hot. So I think that's all I have. Doug, I saw you were ready to ask questions and you disappeared. Oh, nope, there you are. Sorry, how could I miss you in the corner right next to me?
Yeah, I just had a couple clarifications on the scholarship thing. Do you want the team directors or them to submit that Google form, or should we ask the parents to submit that, or what have others done? What would you recommend?
I would recommend the parents do it, but if you're willing to do more work, Doug, have at it.
Okay.
As long as it comes, as long as we get it in the form, that's what we want, because that's how we're going to track it and keep track of what's going on. I would suggest the parents do it. That's who needs to do it. So,
Dallas, you said you want the parents to do the Google form?
Mm-hmm.
If they are requesting the scholarship, I would have the parents do it. I mean, you guys handle your business how you want, but if it were me, I would tell every parent that wants a scholarship to submit it. And
How do you want us to sort of set the expectation about the scholarship? Last year, we had one writer. We were very judicious. We only asked for one where we knew specifically of a need. Like when we tell people scholarships are available, what do you want us to say about that? Just, we've been very short about it so far and just said they're available. Reach out to us directly if you feel you have a need. And that's all we've said. Do you want us to say more than that, less than that? What, are we short on funds as a league? Do we have plenty of funds for this as a league? What's the...
So good questions. And so here's the thing that we did this year, and this is part of the reason we pointed everybody towards the forum, right? The forum, Casey did a really good job with it. Casey does a really good job with all the online stuff, because if I'm building it, we're in trouble. But it gives them the option, right? Like, hey, what amount do you feel like you can pay, right? If you don't feel like you can pay any, ask for the full amount. If you feel like you can handle half of it, you know, $150, put in there that you're requesting $150, and we'll do our best to support that. Be judicious with it, I would ask, please, because it's not an endless supply of funds, right? And we're going to have to come up with some ideas on fundraising, and that's why we split this up, and Tina's going to go focus on doing those things. But if we could pay for every kid, we would. I think we've been a little bit more liberal with some of the dollars in the past. Not saying we're going to turn anybody away, but we need to make sure that the right people are reaching out for that help.
Yeah,
we did it the same way, Richard. We basically took control of that, and the kids who needed scholarships, I submitted forms on their behalf. That's just the way we did it. I don't know if people would have taken more money if available, or have had that opportunity. I don't know, but I try to ask them first how much they're willing to submit, and then we'll fill in the rest.
Yeah, I personally stayed the heck out of it and connected in previous years. I just connected the parent with Tina. I think the intent of the Google form was for the parent to fill it out, but it's not a requirement by any stretch of the imagination. It's totally, you know, choose your own adventure. So if you want to take on that extra work, you totally can, but also know that you have an out if you need it, if you want it, and you don't feel comfortable discussing finances with the student athlete directly.
My question might be like, so how do we as a coaching staff know what that dialogue looks like between the state and the family, I guess? Like, if, I mean, we, in the past, we just have to talk about this. In the past, it was always, or I always felt like it was, maybe there was, I was saying, plenty of money, or it was easy. It was either we didn't have anything less than full scholarships that were awarded, but it seemed like every time we asked, they were there. And we have half a dozen that really need them. Like, I mean, if they say they need 300 and you can't give it, will someone let us know that we need to come up with the rest, or how to come up with the rest, or I just need to understand how we can help. We don't want anyone to ever have any hesitation about participating, because we've started practice already. They're already here. And so, like, we want to make sure they stay here. And so if there's anything short of being able to fully fund them, please communicate that to us immediately so we can round up the rest of the funds.
So currently we're okay to fund what we can fund, right? There's never an endless supply of money. I mean, it's not Walmart. So we will absolutely do our best, Doug, to make sure and get those scholarships out. If there comes a point where we feel like we're not going to be able to make that, we will reach out to the coach and have that conversation. But again, I think that's the important part of having that conversation, right? If you can pay some, it'd really help us out if you paid some. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that. I like the idea of, if it's a parent where the need might be, hey, we got to wait 2 pay periods before we can register. versus, hey, we're not going to do this if we don't get this money and a bike and a helmet, right? I think we have a sense of that sometimes from just getting to know kids or that first practice where they wave in. So I do like the idea, if you suspect that they could do $50 or $150, of sending them straight to the forum, and then maybe where the need's a little deeper, maybe we do get more involved in trying to figure that out, because we're going to be looking to help them in other ways with money we're raising that's not part of the race cost or registration fee. So it's helpful to know that's how the forum was designed, because that, I think our situation is one where maybe they could have done something, but I think we're going to have a couple more where if they do want to sign up, it's going to be more of a, hey, let's try and get them everything covered, because we're going to be, looking to even help them get to venues if need be. But that's really helpful. So I appreciate it. And it's good to know that there are funds available too. So that's good. Thanks. And thanks for taking care of that one for us today.
Yeah. Sorry. Like I said, I just hot off the press with my new permissions to, after doing some financial training through NICA. So I'm just now, I literally just now was able to tell you if we had money in the bank account or not. So that's why we were holding out on them and trying to figure all those things out. And at the end of the day, it's the honor system, right? I mean, we're not running background checks. I'm not going to drive over to somebody's house and be like, nope, that car's too nice. We're not giving you a scholarship. So it's the honor system. And so you do kind of have to be a bit of a gatekeeper, but you delegate it however you like.
One thing on that note, real quick, that we found, I think it was last year, we had several students that started out and were going to need scholarships, and was looking into that, and they lasted like 2 weeks. And it is kind of frustrating when you're looking at, you're using this money, and then they, what if they had accepted that money and they didn't stay? But by rule, we're supposed to have the kids signed up and insured, which is the whole point of paying, is the insurance part for practice purposes, or they're not supposed to practice. So it's kind of a fine line we walk here with keeping kids, retaining them and getting them covered, and then keeping them if they've used that money. So, I hate to see somebody use that money that they don't stick around when somebody could have actually benefited from that money. So that's a tough one. Richard, I had to kind of ask that same question to a couple kids, like, how much can you afford? And I hated to ask it.
Yep.
But
I saw the verbiage. I actually stole the form. Like, I'm not gonna take credit for that. I stole that form from Missouri's NICA league. And if you'll notice, our website is starting to become a pretty interesting one-to-one replication of either Missouri or Arkansas's websites, because they both had them professionally done. So I'm just ripping off their ideas and during my lunch breaks, updating our website.
Well, I would just comment on that, Ryan. I mean, now it seems like it's less of an issue if you scholarship someone and they leave, which is certainly unfortunate. But in the first year, all the money went to California, and we only kept a little. Now, of the $300, Kansas keeps $250, and then only $50 goes to, and that's all on the website. That's not insider trading. So if we did fund one, at least Kansas still has the money here. Is that, do I misunderstand that, Dallas, or is that your understanding as well?
Well, not as much money goes to California. So yeah, the way it's broke down on the website is a little bit different than it goes down on the back end.
Okay.
One of the things I'm learning as well currently, because that was one of the questions I had, Doug, how much money is leaving Kansas and going to California? And it's still a significant amount of money that leaves Kansas and goes to California. It's not as big of a number as it was last year or the previous year, but it's still a significant number.
Okay.
So
Okay.
one thing that we are trying to be proactive about, just throwing this out there, I may have mentioned it before, is by starting a 501c3 nonprofit. We've also partnered with some folks here locally to put some funds into an account to help scholarship kids to get them on bikes, not just for Coyote Composite, but for other things too, for maybe a purchase of a bike in a certain situation, or safety gear like a helmet or something like that. So it doesn't just benefit our local team for NICA, but kids in general. But we are on the list of folks who can benefit if a kid needs a scholarship and maybe they start late season, or there's not enough funds, or we're not sure how to dole that money out. We are trying to be proactive here locally for scholarship money. So
Nice.
it's kind of tough when you're fundraising though. It's just one more thing, but
Sure. I guess one other thing I did learn, and I don't know if there's interest in this, but I'll ask you all. So I think we're gonna do it anyways. There is an opportunity through a vendor, third-party vendor, to get some NICA merch, like legit t-shirts and hats and some different things that is not at the league's expense. You'd be able to just go onto their website, order it, and it'd be sent to you. And a percentage of that money would come back to the league to help with things like scholarship and running the league. So if you guys would have any interest in that, just FYI, I did find out we do have access to that. So maybe working on that.
Got two questions. Casey, for the
Maybe you
website.
get one answer.
Nice. So Casey, on the website, I saw you like updated the team stuff, but as of yesterday, it like wasn't working. I went on there and I'd like, it's all black circles and you can't read any of the data.
Yep.
You aware of that, or okay? Got it. So,
Yeah, no, I had a lunch break today and it's all fixed.
sweet.
So the map, it was working right in some browsers and not others, and so I completely redid it today. Now there's a panel and a slider on the map, so when you click the specific team, it gives the team email on the left side, as well as I had everybody fill out your Facebook and Instagram. So I went ahead and put all of those links as a part of that map, so it's interactive now too, so you can click one of the teams and then you can go directly to their Facebook page or Instagram page, and just in that map. Sort of the second thing that I want to do to that page is take that same data and extract it in a table down below that map, to where you don't have to necessarily click one by one for each team to view the social media for it. Like, you can have everybody's social media links in a table underneath that page, or underneath that map. So
Okay, second part of this thing. And yes, this is due to one of my high speeds, namely my daughter, who's asking me this question. When we sent out the spreadsheet of like everybody's last year's category, what category they're going into, ninth graders were going back into ninth grade as racers, even though they're 10th graders this year. There was no 10th graders listed. It's one issue. The other issue is, like, for my daughter specifically, she's asking, hey, there's no varsity, but we're applying for colleges, and like colleges understand the difference between varsity and JV. So like, can the league force the issue and create a varsity, even if it's like, hey, our 9th and 10th graders are racing JV or something along those lines, so that we actually can tell colleges, because for some kids, this is their sport. Like, this is their extracurricular activity, especially for homeschooled kids. Like,
let's back up. Time out. All right, hold on.
The spreadsheet came out and it was like, last year they were a 9th grader, this year they're racing 9th grade.
I'm looking here. I'm trying to find that spreadsheet. So as an example, I'm in the category placements web page, right, on our website.
Yep.
And are you saying Izzy?
Go to Reagan.
Okay, Reagan. Ninth grade 2022, 2023 10th grade. 2022 category is freshman, Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, see what I'm saying?
No, it's on the far right. You're right.
Yeah. That's like a reoccurring problem in the spreadsheet, it looked like. So, because it looked like it wasn't 10th grade category racing this year.
Cool. What? Yeah, that's all. That was all just honestly put on our website by NICA. So we'll push back and have that revised. Thanks for calling that out. That's not something that we looked at closely. So that's good stuff.
Back to the JV varsity question.
Yeah, here we go. There's absolutely nothing that stops you from petitioning into varsity.
Okay.
We've never stopped there from being a varsity category.
Okay.
I mean, we absolutely have never stopped it.
Yeah, no, I know that. I'm just saying that, like, unless we push the kids to do it, a lot of kids are going to be like, well, I qualify for JV, I'm JV.
Yeah, but therein lies the whole issue with this in general, is that we can't push anybody to petition up. And unless we go back and rewrite all the rules again, I mean, really, our rules are following the national rules.
Which are based off a league like California that has 10,000 riders in it.
Right. So when you say the top 25%, they're getting like 200 kids. That might be a stretch, but, and we're, 25% is one, right? At league discretion. So, I mean, that's the important piece. It's still at league discretion. We can have 10 JV girls say we want to race varsity, and we'll absolutely take a look at it as a whole, right? And those riders understanding who they are, and make that decision for the varsity. It's never been that we didn't want a varsity, and understanding now what Una and Izzy both are looking at, right? Because I think Una's going to Durango, if I understand correctly, but having that on their resume, if you will, like at this point, I understand what your family is talking about. And so I think that's probably a good opportunity for you to talk with the other coaches, like, hey, what other riders do we have that are seeking the same thing, and the same opportunities, right? And if that opportunity is to seek, an opportunity to ride, whether it's through scholarships and stuff through college, like one of the things they kept talking about on a call, is on a national call today, was this is a youth development league. I mean, that's one thing they just keep reporting back, right? It's a youth development league. Well, I see this as an opportunity to develop them and send them on to opportunities far and beyond. So my point in that is it's a lot of talking. My point in that is I think the coaches have to get together and the lead and the team directors and make that decision with one another who you want to have petition up. And you got to submit the petitions to us, and we will look at it and have a conversation with that, right? We're not so big as the league goes that we can't have that conversation. And quite frankly, I don't think you should shy away from petitioning if your riders are consistently the top 3 riders. Like last year we had a strong JV boys group, right? And there was about 4 or 5 of them that consistently went back and forth. I can tell you, if all 4 of them were to petition and say, we want to be varsity this year, I don't think any of us are going to be like, oh no, that doesn't fall within the 25%, right? From a league competitive standpoint and the opportunity for the other riders to get that experience, I think we can make that judgment call together. But I'm absolutely not going to reach down in and say you're racing varsity because I need more slots over here, or I need to do something over there. Right?
Yeah, no issues. It was just a chicken egg question. Like a lot of like, hey, I don't want to petition up to varsity because there isn't a varsity to petition into, but I need to petition into varsity. So if the first step is like, hey, petition anyway, no matter what, and that'll get you like the process rolling, then yeah, we'll do it. That's easy.
Yeah, I mean, petition for varsity, and I'll say, hey, we have a varsity girls petition in the works. So I mean, we can put it out that way. And so that if that's what we think's holding other people back from petitioning, I don't think that's what it's been in the past, but I think understanding, goals and future aspirations, I think I understand that. When you went in to sign Reagan up, was the correct option there to pick?
Yeah, you put in her grade, but it doesn't tell you the category, I don't think, if I remember right.
Oh, okay, yeah, I think we have
Yeah,
to.
it just like defaulted
We
to
have
whatever
go
last
through
year's
and verify each one of those. Yeah.
Kyle, I went ahead and emailed Julia, CC'd you, and then also CC'd Dallas on that, asking. I did my staff calls it the classic Casey Clark. I use the line, "Can you help me understand?" When I'm pointing something out that's wrong. So when you guys hear me say, "Hey, can you help me understand your guys' practice plan?"
That's a very tactful way to do that.
Like, hey man, the problem is half of my staff knows it now, so they're like, I screwed up. But anyway, yeah, you're CC'd on it. You'll be able to hear the answer from Nike National. That spreadsheet was actually like slapped on our website by Nike National at some point, I think in December.
And not in a very organized fashion either. Like it is like you would expect it to be like freshman, 10th grader, 11th grader, 12th, and it's like some hodgepodge of I feel your plight.
So yeah, we'll definitely get an answer to that and out to this group of folks too, to just get a good understanding there too.
Cool, gentlemen, thank you.
Yeah. We're 12 minutes over. Want to be respectful of everybody's time. Doug, I am totally game. I can grab another beer, and then we can talk some more. I will say, if anybody needs to drop, absolutely feel free. But we're probably just going to continue some dialogue here.
I might get something to drink, and I'll be right back.
Yeah, this one will just take a few minutes.
Yeah, man.
With regards to like other teams, we're looking at submitting like a small grant to the community foundation, kind of thinking about things we need. There's been a conversation around first aid kits for coaches to be carrying. I don't know, we've been a little lax about that, and so we're looking to kind of ramp that up. And the other one was, as we get larger, the communication amongst coaches and folks. Like, I don't know if others have been using radios much. I know the league's got the nice radios. If other teams have found a particular radio or something that might be good or useful, or what other larger teams have done with regards to communication on. So those things, I just like to kind of hear what others are doing in that regard. Other teams.
We are not a big team, but we do use radios, and it is incredibly helpful. Because it is even for a small team, very chaotic on weekends. And we actually utilize them more during practice, because we'll have 2-3 groups out doing different sections of the trail, or we'll be doing a certain game like we did a scavenger hunt last year where we had 3 different groups out doing different sections of the trails. So it was really helpful to have walkies on hand.
So like like what the league has, Casey, do you remember, were you involved in purchasing or procuring those, kind of what the value of those are, or if those have been a good thing or recommended by somebody in particular?
Yeah, Nike actually had a specific, and this is, the league trailer was not any of my doing. So that inventory wasn't mine, but from a shred perspective, the league actually had, or I guess Nike National had specific radios that were like, these work really well. And that's the radio bank that we bought, and shred.
The ones we bought are called, I don't know how it's pronounced. It's BAOFENG, and that's the name of the brand. And then the model is
Baofeng.
And these are, I researched the crap out of this. I ended up buying like a kit on Amazon. They had a pack of 6 of them with extended antennas. These are like the Honda Civics of radios. Like everybody has them. They're cheap. They're $20 a pop. Everybody uses them. It took me a minute to figure out how to use them. They're not super intuitive. So I ended up spending a couple hours watching YouTube videos. I got a YouTube degree in how to use them. I set them up on a certain station, and then I just kept them on that station. And if you go to the higher end radios, then you need some licenses for ham radio operators, because these are technically ham radios as opposed to CB radios. But that model is the one that everybody is recommending. And that's the model that you're going to find, it's one of those cheap ones, but you're going to find like a whole bunch of instructions on it. It works pretty well. And I see somebody had asked for a link. I'll put a link on there as well. I'll put it on a group me after the meeting. And the only issue that we've had is when we get to the big hill area, which I know you're covered in giant mountains over there, Doug. But sometimes we can't get a radio through that, or kind of like deep in the woods. But it does work reasonably well. For $20 a pop, it works pretty reasonably well. And then Mike got a really fancy Pelican case, and he put some foam in it. So when you open it up, it looks like, those 007 movies. He opens it up and there's like 6 or 7 radios lined up.
Okay, nice. Okay, thanks. Yeah, if you can put a link up, that'd be great. And maybe we'll tip you to come train our personnel when we get them.
They are really good radios, Doug. I have 7 of them, and we've used them for jeeping excursions for years. They are basically the Chinese company that a lot of other companies use and just rebrand.
Okay.
Yeah, they are ham radio powerful. They're 2.5 mile or more, and the communication piece is making sure that the antenna is pointed up. If you don't have it pointed up, but they won't. That's just the way the antenna broadcasts. So they do work really well for cheaper. Like you said, $25 a piece, and pretty durable. They come with chargers, different antennas. They even come with mics, so you can clip them on a vest if you want to carry that around like a police officer. Programmable. You can talk to airplanes if you want. So anyway.
Okay.
Yep.
So
BAOFENG.
What's that?
BAOFENG. Baofeng or Baofeng or however you say it.
Okay. As far as
link, I'm just trying to figure out how to copy it. We got the ones that comes in a pack of 6 because there was a bit of a discount. It also comes with those like remote radios. So one of the things you'll find when you ride, it's kind of tricky, like where you want to clip it. The first few rides you ride, it's going to keep falling down every which way. So we've kind of tried it with those radios. That works well. And then it also comes with extended antennas that kind of have a little bit further reach. We haven't really used those.
The other nice thing about those, I'll say real quick, is they have dual channels. So let's just say that the league had a channel specific and they wanted all the team directors to be on that channel. You can program your team channels to a different number, and then you can talk to all your coaches, or you can listen in on what the directors want if they need to communicate to you. So you can have 2 different channels running at the same time if there's an accident or whatever.
Okay. Great, thank you. First aid kits, anybody got anything super duper or recommendations? Or
a front mount handlebar bag. I think John was the name of the company, but I think front mount bags are better than seat bags, or like frame bags or anything like that. I carried a small round one for the first part of the year for practices, because I was at nearly every shred practice. But I think shred also has some additional needs this year, and they're going to go out and look at putting together a coach's kit too. But I front mount bar bags are definitely the way to go, just to try to keep it out there in front of you, and then also make it portable across multiple bikes.
Thank you.
Nike National does have a list of stuff that can be included, but like it's a kitchen sink list. and the most used thing out of my pack was Band-Aids. And as long as you carry a bag like that, you're gonna be handing out Band-Aids consistently, especially if you ride with the 6th graders a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Doug, on the topic of safety, do you know, is Justin Ringler still planning on coming to Wilderness First Aid?
Yes. Has he? Yes, he is. Has he taken care of his fees yet?
No.
Okay.
And I just wanted to make sure I didn't like kick him out of a seat and
Yeah, no,
planning on holding it down.
he's planning on it. I'll jump him again.
Yeah, no beat downs or anything. There's always people looking for opportunities. So just as a heads up to this group, there will be another one, but it will not be until later this summer. So does nobody any good for this season. But I guess Matt Gilhausen through Sunflower is going to actually start having some on a regular basis. And one of them will be this summer. Same guy, same company that we're using. So, keep people from driving to California or Colorado. Sorry, California. Yeah, might as well.
Okay.
Anything else?
I did have one more question, so people have another 5 minutes. Frequency of practices, like I'm just curious what others have done. We've started with one practice a year or one practice a week. It's on a Sunday afternoon. That's just kind of all we could muster, really. I'll just be honest. We had 6 or 8 student athletes drop off this year, which is really frustrating for me. I kind of thought we had a good gig going, and mostly it was a function of just so much going on, and Sundays even are getting so full with other things going on, and like that's the last day for family, and one family in particular was going to have 3 or 4 kids, and decided not, like, we're keeping Sunday for ourselves, and which totally I can respect. I just wondered like what other teams are doing with regards to frequency and other tricks they found to engage student athletes.
Floggings.
Question. Pardon?
Floggings, but I need to read Casey's sheet again because Severin probably would have some things to say about which side of the sheet we're on currently. He just got off the trainer, so.
Doug, we're starting practice the first week of February, 2 days a week, Tuesday, Thursdays, 5 to 6 until daylight savings time, then 5:30 to 7:30. We'll do venue rides on the weekends where we travel farther away to do places, other than when we're doing road racing, other stuff like that those weekends. And then we'll be doing like family racing as opposed to NICA racing or NICA riding.
Yeah.
Jensen, did I hear road racing?
Very similar.
Yeah, Izzy's getting into the road this year.
What?
Yes. Well, like for all of our students, like, this is all small town communities, so everybody's in the other sport. So like they're all playing basketball now. Like nobody during the week is off until it's dark. Like there's no way for us to do anything early on. Like we're pulling a higher percentage of the kids because we don't have anybody. And so like they're all in something else. Like I don't even know how we could pull off a weekday thing, but like
you got to start spreading misinformation, Doug.
Okay.
That's what you got to do. Misinformation. My kid thinks that all the other sports are dangerous and that bad things happen when you do them. So all we do is ride them.
I'm not one to be talking right now. Like I'm not a good postcard writing that, but I get what you're saying, man.
And our situation with our team is, we've got kids from how many different communities, and some of our kids, it's a 35-mile or 30-mile trip one way to get to practice. And so again, in the evening, I mean, if you do after school, if they leave as soon as school gets out, there's not very much daylight time to practice once they get there. So that's kind of our situation, why we decided to just do Sunday afternoon. We encourage the kids to ride on their own through the week as they can. But for us, it's just impractical to try to get together any other day. I think the last 2 seasons we did fell like on Mother's Day weekend where we had a lot of kids that were off. So we did like multiple practice sessions, and we encouraged them to make sure you make at least one. But it's just tough to do more than that one a week.
Yeah. So as a possible opportunity there, you guys did say you did have a lot of coaches. Have you thought about maybe going out into those smaller communities for a practice, and maybe not an on the bike practice, but renting out the gym or some other venue? I have my eye on a specific yoga studio this year that we're probably going to be frequenting as a team because I've developed a relationship with that venue. But ultimately, going out, like thinking outside the box in those situations too, to try to meet the kids where they're at, if they're unable to make that happen. So just a possible idea out there, man.
Yeah. I mean, we had hoped that, we're pulling from 6 or 7 different communities, that ultimately we would have coaches in all those and more students in all those, and that they would kind of have their own satellite practice, maybe even during the week or something, like get together and ride. But then of course you got to make sure, okay, we got a level 2 coach there and a level 1, we got to meet all the expectations. So anyway, that's okay. We don't have to belabor it tonight. Just a discussion.
We're pretty fortunate, Doug, with being a small community and diameter of 5 miles, but we have 2 kids that live in Olby, which is 10 miles south. However, most of our kids are in sports other than cycling. So we do 2 nights a week, and my son is one of them. He's on a club soccer team that we travel all over. And talking with his coach, I thought it was a pretty good idea. The dedication and commitment also helps the coaches and staffing. So I tried to tell the kids this year, like, I think you should try to make at least 1 practice a week. That way it's a commitment thing. You're not just signing up and showing up to the races. You're there so we know how to staff coaches, scheduling, and for the coaches too, so that we don't get one coach or whatever burn out on always committing. So I think 50% rule is pretty fair. Maybe it's hard to enforce, but we're going to try it. So Sunday for you out there, tough. I understand.
This year that we're thinking about trying, we haven't done it yet, is he's very much into that Zwift training, the set up the group. The one concern we have there is it going to be equitable, because not all of our student athletes have those practice machines at home. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Our kids don't have any idea what that is. Yeah, but I get what you're saying. Yeah.
That thing right there. See that right there? That thing, yeah. Yeah, they're expensive. Kids don't have those. They probably don't even have a Cyclops type, weighted trainers.
Our kids don't have bikes. That's the game. Literally, that's a whole nother conversation. But okay, cool. Well, thank you for your time, folks. I don't want to dominate the conversation, so I'll shut up now.
It's kind of funny and very not important, maybe appropriate at this, since we're 30 minutes over and nobody had dropped out yet. One of the things that I personally just wanted for a long time, just because I think it looks really, really cool. You know how when professionals race on bikes, because they all have the same team sponsored bikes, so they have a little sticker with their flag of origin and their little name. So I've been wanting to do that. And Mike found some lady that can do those for us pretty cheaply. I think it was like 55 cents a sticker. And we're thinking about doing a little American flag, kid's name, and then a little shred logo at the end. And Mike was going to have her just run a couple samples just for us to look at it at 55 cents a pop. If we get 2 or 3 stickers per kid, you know, you're talking $1.50, couple bucks per kid. It's not a whole lot of money, but something for them to put like on a bike and maybe a helmet or a pump or something like that to feel like they're real professional racers. So I told Mike, when we do get that sample, maybe share it with you guys with a group. And if any other team like it, you know, and if it is that cheap and we all follow kind of the same format with the American flag, the name, and then send us your logo and we can send it to the sticker lady. It's unimportant. It doesn't matter. I just think it'd be kind of cool, make them feel like pros. So
I think it's a great idea, Deb. Like it just made me think about even just a simple label machine. Like I'm gonna get the label machine out and like we're gonna run that baby at practice Sunday and like at least put it, put it on their bikes. We have so many donor bikes, like put their name on it or put it on their helmet. Like we start doing name, which if anybody's got a great idea for good stick and name tags besides duct tape or Gorilla tape with a marker, I'd be all ears. So yeah, that'd be great.
It's good to have team stickers on stuff. So when your radios walk off,
that same thing. You know how like when we pack at the end of the weekend, I was thinking we may want to order them, like coaches could opt out to order them as well. But like I would put them on a picnic tables and on chairs and on pumps, because inevitably at the end of the race weekend, there's 2 pumps laying on the grass and we're walking around waving them going, whose pump is this? But if we just put names in there. So it's minor silly idea. It doesn't matter if we do it or don't, but I'll let you guys know if something comes out of it and whoever wants to join in can.
You can also use them to tag other teams' trailers too, Casey.
Okay.
Well, I really appreciate everybody getting on the call tonight. There's a lot of good conversation, and thank you, all of you, for what you brought up and helping us keep things straight here. So unless anybody's got anything else, I think we're ready to close it down.
Kyle, I like your new background there. Looks like a lot of traveling, sir.
You'll probably hear you probably see like all of my office / shop over the course of the season as we do these calls. We're just going to keep moving the computer around so you see a little bit at a time.
I'm mapping your house out. Don't worry.
All right, y'all. I'm gonna close out the call. Thanks everybody. Have a great night.
Okay, good night.
Thanks.